Thank you very much for joining the 5th edition of Caring a School, a virtual roundtable event where we bring impact citizens together that care about the planet or the people on the planet. And today I will share with you shortly the agenda of the meeting, and then we will introduce our panelists. Today, we would like to speak about the power of community and nature, and we invited Jorge Morais, who might still log in very soon, we hope, who is working on a regenerative forest project, but also on community projects and educational workshops. The power of independent media with Sharon O'Connor, who is running a radio show, bringing different voices to the audience, including marginalized voices, and Alex Johnson, who will be speaking or representing the power of visual communication. To present Jorge Morais, he lived for 7 years in the UK, working in logistics and supply chain, and then decided to go back into his home country. He's from Portugal. And in Portugal, he found a village that already had a long-lasting activity of a regenerative forest ongoing, but he also started some new projects called Eco Vale Peridouro, where he would like to offer workshops, as well as help in the education about the need of treating the lands in a regenerative way and trying to reforest the forests that are dominated by mostly eucalyptus plants in that area and bringing back the local or new type of combination of plants into that region. And one can already witness today the richness of this area, this landscape. And you can follow basically the Advances project on their Instagram account. They post regularly more recently, and also they inform about the workshops that they have locally. Besides the project Eco Vale Peridouro, he is also working as a manager on a project called Rural Moves, which is mostly targeted at remote workers, at digital nomads that would like to take the advantages of the interconnected digital world while living in a healthy nature environment. The next panelist is Sharon O'Connor. I mentioned that she is representing independent media, and especially I wanted to highlight an event which is happening tomorrow in the frame of her radio show that is hosted by Spectrum on Air, and this will happen tomorrow at 7 p.m. London time. And you will have a format with several invited speakers that speak about the possibility to integrate sustainability projects in very small businesses. So what does it take to integrate ESG goals into smaller and SMEs, which economic impact that has. This is just one of the examples of the shows that she has been hosting in the past. And this is the one that is happening tomorrow. Last but not least, I would like to present Alex Johnson. He is a professional in the area of motion graphics and animation. And he launched a project that is called the Disruption Society. And the Disruption Society deals with producing video clips or animations for impact businesses or impact projects. And we will be curious to hear about the strengths of the power of communication, the communication tools, the communication technologies that can be used and that can especially help into changing narratives or highlighting facts. And one of the projects I thought was inspiring as a way to talk about the climate crisis here in a humorous way. And you will see example of this, for example, this feature that was announcing the news of a conference, the Green Biz 23, earlier this year. And you find a lot of the different projects that involve the motion picture contributions on the website called the disruptionsociety.com. And with that, I would like to invite Alex to present in his own words, what he believes, are the projects he's most proud of, and why communication technologies are so important in impact work. I see Betsy Rosenberg is joining right now. She has been a panelist before, and she is also working in independent media, being the founder of Green TV. And so we are excited to have her here as a participant today as well. So Alex, please feel free to describe, what you are excited about and what you believe, communication can provide.
Yeah, thank you, Jana. And yeah, thank you for the introduction. I've been working on the Disruption Society as kind of my business, but also my project to make an impact in the world through my skill set, which is graphic design and video, and marrying those two into motion design and animation. And just taking that to help other causes, advocacy groups, nonprofits, but also businesses. I think corporate action is going to be necessary for us to get out of the climate crisis. And so helping those businesses that are intentionally making changes to work towards a more sustainable future and a regenerative future, helping them with their video needs to hopefully beat out their competitors that might be less focused on that or doing more harm to the planet. But in terms of like the power of visual communication and video specifically, I don't think we can negate that it's here, and more and more people are consuming video on a daily basis, and it has such a big influence over the general population, and it can be a great positive tool for educating, bringing awareness to causes and all of that. It can also, on the flip side, be really devastating for misinformation campaigns and just greenwashing the company's way out of having to take responsibility for what they've done to our planet since but specifically with this video we created for Green Biz 23, which was super fun, and I had one of the most fun times working on it that I've had in a while on a video. But that was thanks to the founder of Green Biz kind of wrote his picture of what the climate crisis and what the world would look like in 15 years in the future. So kind of as just a way to get us thinking about what the future will be without just like sterile numbers and like 2030 goals and 2050 goals and stuff that are somewhat intangible and not relatable. So yeah, he just took a lot of different current events, but then put them into the view of what they would be in 15 years. So he had Greta Thunberg as like the climate secretary of the United Nations. He had some other people who are U.S. citizens being the United States climate secretaries, all of that, and we put it together with some cool visual effects and stuff to really enhance and engage the people that are watching, and just kind of show what the future could look like. And yeah, I think in terms of the climate crisis, climate anxiety is a real thing, and like it can be really easy to go down a rabbit hole, like just what can I do in this climate crisis, like what, and just get really hopeless and despondent and like, well, nothing's going to change, so yeah, why should we keep fighting for it and stuff? So I think anytime we can introduce levity and humor into it, not to take away from the gravity that it is, because it is a crisis, but just, yeah, infusing some hope, infusing some levity into the conversation can be really beneficial to then keep moving and take that next step. Yeah, and also I know people were talking about independent media and they weren't able to be here. But GreenBiz, I believe, is an independent media organization. That's mainly what they do to try to help steer corporate action into an actual tangible direction, and instead of just greenwashing their way out of things. So so it was great to be able to partner with them on it and reach a bunch of global companies that are, you know, they have a big influence over whether or not we can get out of this climate crisis. So
thank you very much
yeah.
for this explanation. I very recently, actually, Jeff shared with me a short article which was about an analysis of climate-related art that was presented at one of the COPs, I think. And there was an effort made to analyze how is this, there has been a categorization into different categories of how climate crisis related art could look like. Like there's the basically a future vision that is realistic, or others very optimistic. And some of the psychological research shows that there is like an optimization bias, and somehow if we know that there could be a positive outcome, then probably we try to believe in the positive outcome simply because we don't project, or we don't want to suffer ourselves, and so that some artists now go the way to basically have future utopic representations of maybe prosperous and growing and nature rich perspective, which may help people to engage into projects like regenerative agriculture or other projects that may help a more nature focused way of life or so. That was quite interesting. So I don't get together now the 4 different categories that they identified, but one was more out of despair, the other out of hope, and maybe some others are more, as you say, maybe fact-based or very technical and raw. Yeah, so I'm curious to hear whether you use then a lot of this basically optimist bias influenced way of showing like an utopic, or maybe how the future could look like if we were maybe treating Earth better scenarios, or how much you use I don't know, like really animation or illustration type of work, or how much you resource to record it real image footage.
Yeah, it definitely would depend on the project, but I do enjoy and try my best to influence the project to be more of that utopic outlook on things. Sometimes, you know, I'm working with a client usually, and they have the final say, and so you know, sometimes they do want to put in some footage of you know, wildfires are a big one, or flooding damage and stuff like that. All very real dangers that we're showing or we're dealing with today. But yeah, then painting that picture with language and with visuals of just what the world could be like, I think is just it's a much better thing to get behind and a much easier to build a movement on. I mean, you can build a movement on hatred and despair and stuff too, but yeah, I just think that doesn't always get us anywhere. That just kind of can dig us into a hole. But yeah, in terms of like, we do use a lot of stock footage. So with that, we're or shot footage. With that, we're kind of confined to what is available today. So we can try to find those beautiful untouched nature spots and like use those as yeah, just kind of a depiction of what the future could look like everywhere. We do illustration too. We don't always do super realistic type of work that you might see from other people, but 3D animation as well is great to be able to construct things that look photorealistic and then shape it to kind of what whoever's idea of the future could look like. Yeah, so that's another tool we can utilize for kind of envisioning this future that is us after we've got ourselves out of the climate crisis, hopefully. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. Yeah. So one of the things in your profile description, I also thought, was kind of, actually I saw that today in two profiles. The 1% for the planet member. That seems, is this an organization or is this something that you found as a description?
No, yeah, so that's an organization that I am a member of. And yeah, 1% of the planet is a group of business members that have dedicated 1% of their revenue, so not just their profits, but their revenue, to helping environmental partners, mostly nonprofits or NGOs. And so they partner with them both fiscally. They can co-brand marketing pieces to spread the word better. They can also donate kind of pro bono work or in-kind donations, but at least half has to be financial giving. And that came down from a realization that I believe it's only like 2% of all the money that's generated every year goes to nonprofits, and only 3% of that goes to environmental nonprofits. So environmental nonprofits are kind of getting the brunt of lack of funding and just not being invested in as much as some of the more humanitarian nonprofits might be getting. So yeah, so it's just kind of a way to give back. I generally, and I think a lot of people generally give more than that 1%, but that's just kind of that minimum starting point. And yeah, it can always go up from there. So
interesting. Yeah, I didn't know about that, but it made me curious. And yeah, that is a very interesting information. Hi, Betsy. Good to see you. I'm sure you have questions to Alex, and I'm not sure you were able to hear everything they said.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just getting back, sort of in transition here.
Yes.
And was going to try to monitor while I unpacked, but I'm always so interested in the conversation. I have to jump in. I'm sorry. I'm just talking to you from my bedroom here because that's where my unpacking is happening. But good to see everybody. Looks like a smaller group than usual. I guess it's summer, right? Everybody's away, but 1% of the planet. I just wanted to chime in. I was lucky enough to be there when Yvonne Chouinard announced it. in San Francisco. It was 2002 or 2003. He, of course, is the founder of Patagonia. And what Alex said is true, that only a small percentage of philanthropic dollars did and still do go to environmental causes. And even less than that goes to environmental media, like 2% of that 2%. So that's why we started Green TV, not to go into all that now, but it has been a big problem, continues to be. And 1% for the planet, I'm seeing more and more. So that has definitely gotten off the ground over the years, 20 years. Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
know
I think they
how
just
many
celebrated 20 years. So
Mhm. Do you know how many people participate in that?
oh, that's a great question. They were growing a lot over the past couple of years. Their
Probably on their
website
website. I would imagine on their website.
says they say
have that.
5,700 plus business members and then 6,300 plus environmental partners. So they kind of connect the business member to the partners. Most businesses have multiple partners as well. But yeah.
Did someone have a question that I missed? Because I'm going to listen, but you probably don't want to watch me unpack. So I was just going to go off video.
Yeah, I think I mean, I just think because Alex is speaking about independent media, and I think that there are this topic that we just had of representing like real voices to connect with, understanding what can we do on individual level, or using our influence in whatever professional or community influence that we might have through real stories that are representing basically authentically ourselves compared to maybe utopistic, futuristic representation that might be motivating or stimulating people to chase a certain future. Like this level of these two narratives and how you would compare that. I mean, I know that with Green TV, you do a lot of interview based, so it's actually an authentic, very authentic way of communication. But how much does the future, aspirations or hope for the future, or drive the way of communication, the way how we do not risk entering this rabbit hole that Alex also mentioned of basically climate related depression.
Is there a question? I don't. That was. As you know, I have a lot to say, way too much to say. But ask me a question, I'll try to answer it. But otherwise, I'm just interested in the conversation. Of course, climate communications, media. That's what I've been working on for 25 years. So hard for me to stay away from a discussion like that.
Like leveling from authenticity to future optimism, or so. Like, where would you think right now media would, I don't know, maybe be able to find a strategy that has more, bigger impact.
And that means we have to empower billions to really work in the local community, rebuilding their own ecosystems as a pollution crisis, because the feedback mechanism of the ecosystem is really bad, in bad shape. So it's like, a lung cancer patient still smoking. Where the solution lies, because are we really working with nature? Nature is very fast in regenerate. And for me to be able to empower billions to really rebuild trillions of cubic meter land and sea, that has to be in a fun way where you really can see this is fun. We can do it. We can do the great rebuild. How can music and art and media help in empowering people just to do their small action on rebuilding ecosystems?
The importance of bringing the message out into engaging, inspiring, fun activities, micro engagement based that are stimulating, creatively stimulating.
We really have to work on how to co-create abundance between nature and people, and doing new ways of living, new ways of business models, new ways of food, empowering people, you know, what can you do in your local community? And I actually think the key is really media, creative, music. There's really, really many nature-based solutions that are very effective, which you can do in your garden or you can do in your local community with your local ecosystem knowledge.
Is there anyone else that would like to comment on these topics?
And this is what I think I've been running into a lot, is kind of getting people to engage enough in topics, even if they're fun, they don't really think them through. Like kind of we're used to really media companies banging us with the same ad again and again with a really simple message that's kind of sort of brain dead, and this ends up working well. And then we're not used to thinking so much anymore, like about what's going on here. So this is something else I've talked with some other musical people about, like how they commented like that, like the music that we grow up with had a lot of different ideas going on, and now the music seems to really lack metaphor. It's just very direct, and if you put anything else there that's not immediately just digestible, somehow many people won't spend the time to think, which in a way, to me, is part of the strategy, is trying to make entertaining things that pull people in without thinking too much. But then if they're exposed, they will start to think more about it. And people make better decisions on their own when they're kind of not pressured to do decisions. They're just sort of more aware in their environment, and then of their own volition, they sort of think, oh, maybe I should do something here, there, which is sort of like the challenge of having the cultural backdrop that kind of embraces these topics as part of day-to-day life.
I liked Jeff's point about, people kind of having shorter attention spans for these things and not thinking as deeply about them as they used to. And I think there's something I'm sorry, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing your name right, but he said too about like, business leaders who, why are they digging their own graves, right? Why aren't they thinking this through? And I feel like I've cared a lot about the climate for a long time, but I feel like a lot of issues, even outside of climate change, are harmed a lot by people not thinking clearly about them, or having sort of self-motivated views where they believe what they want to believe instead of what's actually shown to them by the evidence, or instead of what's inconvenient but true, perhaps. So that's something I think a lot about, and like I would love to find more ways to kind of help people think more deeply about these kinds of topics and more clearly, and be able to take the time to focus on things and understand more complicated, nuanced issues that require complicated, nuanced solutions, like climate change and many other things. And I have no idea how to approach that problem. It's a problem I think about a lot, but it doesn't have a simple, easy solution that I've ever heard of or been able to think of or come up with.
One topic that came up in the past was games, virtual games, or others, also educational games that put you maybe in a situation and you have to go to this level. But how often that relates to reality, or you just believe, oh, it's just a game, right? That's of course another question. But there are possibly there are some opportunities, or some people that try to approach that through gaming.
I call it football game for environment. These football cards. Engaging people, and you can say educate it in the short span they have.
Cecilia, we're curious to hear what you would like to say.
Thank you so much, Jana. Here I am because I care, and I think that's kind of the starting point of my point of view on this whole issue with climate change, with lack of equal rights for women, with every other problem that we have in our planet, right? So I don't know if we had an intro, but I just want to let you guys know where I come from. So I'm based in Chicago, originally from Lima, Peru, but I'm a Chicagoan now for more than 20 years. And I completed my academic degrees here in Chicago in the States. And I'm currently a volunteer with the United Nations Association chapter here in Chicago. As president of the Chicago chapter, I'm really concerned about what's happening. And we're trying to develop educational programs and panel discussions, and we're trying to advocate for all these issues that are human rights, children's rights, women's rights, right? All these things, and climate change, of course. But I think we're living in an era of excessive information, right? Everyone knows about the problems. We have the statistics, and we have people who decide to not believe science, right? That's one issue, right? And then on the other hand, we have all these folks who know what's happening and still decide to do whatever, or just not pay attention and be indifferent and go on with their lives, go on vacations, explore the world, and not give a damn. Excuse my language, but that's really what's happening, right? So I'm a volunteer in so many other groups. I'm with the refugee coalition. It's called RAN, the Refugee Association, or the Refugee Action Network. I'm also Rotarian. And all these organizations have the same thing in common. You meet people that care, like this group right here, right? Look how many people joined us. A handful, barely. This should have 100 people lined up to want to say something, to want to take action, to want to brainstorm. Yet we have all this huge network, but if it's Beyonce, if it's Taylor Swift, and I have nothing against all these ladies, but if it's not something that people find as comforting, or it's not something that's easy, folks don't join, right? That's the reality. Just like joining nonprofit organizations, nonprofit boards, or volunteer organizations, you'll get that group of folks who just want to fill that resume. And once they got what they needed, they leave and never show up again. They just disappear from the map. They fall from the planet, right? So, really, I come from a different standpoint, one that acknowledges the fact that people know about these issues. They just simply decide not to do anything about this, right? A couple of weeks ago, I got on this vein of just going on Amazon Prime. I don't know if you have it in Europe where you are, Jeff. I know you're in Portugal, but Amazon Prime has a video collection of movies, documentaries, you name it. You get to pick what you want. It's like Netflix. And so I just decided, okay, let's find out what's happening with the food industry, because I've been very, I'm turning into vegetarian, basically. That's what's happening, because I've been watching so much. I've been learning so much about what the industry looks like. I have to say that I'm really happy that our youth is very engaged. I've met with a lot of high school students, college students, who are really concerned about what's happening, who have come to Washington, D.C. to advocate for human rights with me, who advocate for children's rights with me, right? And advocate for the UN with me. But at the same time, I feel that I guess my generation, or the generation behind me, really lacks the concern that we all have at this time, right? So I feel it's lack of willpower. A lot of places there are ways to actually fix these things, and it's not that difficult. It's a matter of willpower. There's the knowledge there, statistics there. There's a lot of information out there, so we don't have to go and reinvent anything or look for anything. It's there. I just wish more groups like this one develop, so that we can all brainstorm and fight the good fight together.
How will we like to see our society, because the way we have done it for the last 1800 years, has been a really ecological disasters for people and nature.
Agreed, 100%. If I can comment on that, let people understand that the consensus on the meals that we decide to eat is off the charts, right? The fact that we've been doing it for so many years doesn't mean we were doing it right. Folks in indigenous countries didn't rely on livestock for their meals. They had no chickens. The chickens arrived with the Spanish, right? We all know this, right? And the meat as well as the meat. They ate their own guinea pigs, and they ate their quinoa, which is now a big staple in the US, but the US claims to have discovered it. No, they haven't discovered it. The indigenous people have been eating that for centuries. Everyone realizes that our ancestors were wrong in some of these eating habits. We can change our planet.
It really depends on the ecosystem. So for me, it's about striking the right balance where you really co-create abundance, where nature ecosystem thrive, and we also get our healthy food and thrive in that community as a local community. And that's my whole point, is that it's and I love your talk about indigenous and the knowledge they have, and all that. And I think we need, I also know that more and more people is tapping into that resources and knowledge to really invest or reinvent from the past and that knowledge of the locals.
What can media do to make more people engage and maybe engage more long term? As Cecilia was saying, okay, maybe there are many that engage shortly, but what is the key driving force to indeed like create this movement, but maybe not a short-lived movement, but a long-term engagement? We all know that media plays a huge role, but which role could independent media play?
No, that's a big question, and it's more accessible than ever as well to produce this media, and I think that's a real benefit that we can utilize as climate activists and social activists and all that, and making a platform that walks people through exactly what they can do to move from awareness to action, I think can be a real key driver. I saw the Project Drawdown recently produced like just 6 video series. It was super digestible to go in there and learn a fundamental thing, and that draws them in then to utilize their platform in a better way if they're in a place to do that. I think they reach out more to corporations and companies. So if they're a business owner and they want to take more action, then they can do that afterwards. But yeah, I think just we can't just say, oh, people are taking the easy way out and leave it at that. Like, and we can't just hope that people won't magically stop doing that. So I think we can maybe help things be easier and use, and I guess to the social media front, like you can build your own audience pretty easily and quickly, and then get people on board to make a little more impact than you might be able to just face to face on your own without pre this technology and stuff. So
thank you.
It's a hero campaign. Put their profile up and really saying, hey, this is great what you're doing. And they're also able to share what they're doing, because how did they crack the code for themselves, so they can see themselves in doing this difference? And there's a lot of people who's really working. So a hero campaign where we salute people, that would be great. I'm really humbled by all the people who's really working hard in so many different ways.
Thank you.
Everything everyone says resonates. Everyone's correct. The only thing I'm doing at this point, late in the game, for me personally, professionally, planetarily, is the one thing I think that will make a difference. And that is Green TV is mostly interviews right now. It's a startup, we're new. But the reason I want to share this with each of you on the call is because the whole time I've been doing interviews on radio for 20 years was to interview the solutionaries, as I call them, the people who are making a difference. And by being inspired and engaged and enlightened and educated by these experts, my heroes and sheroes, others can say, oh, that's a great idea. Let me try this in this town, my town, or let me share this information. And my background is CBS Radio. I worked for local in San Francisco, network in New York, and the power of media is real. And I got burned out and disillusioned with covering breaking news, murder and mayhem and crimes and fires and floods, in my 30s. Had my daughter got married, said I got to do something more meaningful and use this experience in broadcasting. What I'm working towards, and I just want to plant this seed so each of you can take it with you, because each of you would be part of this, is a green news network. Picture CNN, but through a green lens. So all the news, all the panel discussions, all the stories in the field, they're all about what's going on with our planet, with our environment, with our ecosystem, which is in collapse. And when people say, oh, that's a crazy dream. Well, they said the same thing to Ted Turner. Now, I'm not a billionaire, but, or a maverick maybe, but I do have a vision. And why not make that green television, given the urgency, given all the problems, the complexity of them, they're interwoven. The problems and the challenges are not going to go away. The solutions are there and not going to go away. And the more people know about them, the more they will feel hope and inspired and encouraged. And we need, so our three tenets of Green TV are tell the whole truth, even if it's difficult, because without that, we don't have a chance. Connect all these dots that are failing to be connected for the most part by mainstream media, and focus on solutions. And more people are starting to say, what can I do? What's going on? And these conversations, like the ones here, are, you know, important, and they're interesting, and they're inspiring. And what's more urgent than this environmental news that's not getting out there? Then we get a buzz, right? So maybe just the green folks, God bless us, watch in the beginning, but more and more the green choir is growing, and it's going to have to as the weather gets more extreme. The bad news with what's going on, you know, with climate impacts will maybe be good news for those of us trying to get the public to really pay attention. And we'll laugh at ourselves as a society because we are so ridiculous. I mean, you know, we're heading for a climate cliff, and they're still watching sports, playing video games, like twiddling while home is burning. And it's like, WTF, like we're losing critical minutes. And that's the part that keeps me awake and doing this. It's just like, we can't lose this battle because of ignorance. Let nobody be ignorant and claim that. If you would like to see us start live streaming, go to greentv.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel. When we hit 1,000 people, we can really start cooking and get a lot more stories.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I think a lot of us share this urge to basically also feel not being able to take real holidays from an impact project, or not being able to say, I let this be now, but maybe bring the basically impact musical to every place you would go, or maybe, yeah, starting to annoy your friends when you do want to make them the engagement dance again, maybe every time you meet them, but just thinking it's so important to keep yeah, to keep working on that, right? And
what we have to show people is this is exciting, it's fun, it's meaningful, and people will not join us if it's just gloom and doom, but it is, but we're beyond that, right? And we need to show people. First, you got to accept the problem, then we get into the fun stuff, roll up our sleeves.
Yeah, this urge that the time is running, and one feels this yeah, need to share the awareness with our friends, family, and surrounding, and reaching across the smaller bubbles into larger audiences. And yeah, we can try that using the different media channels. We can try that just by conversations. We can try that by making a video game, or by going onto a street performance, etc., right? And what I like here is, of course, hearing your individual stories, but also it feels like now I have been moderating that many times, but I really like that everyone, even those that didn't think they would contribute to the discussions, in the end, yeah, they have some really inspiring story to share. And we are, yeah, all like kind of engaged superheroes. It was a very small meeting today, but I think it was still really exciting to see some new faces. Thank you very much, Alex Johnson, for joining, for presenting your project, and for being, and for everyone being so, yeah, for your caring, and for your authenticity, and for your availability to share your stories. I would like then to close the session, but give you all the opportunity to say some words if you like to before we close the call.
At present, I am in Dallas. I'm from Pakistan. I'm visiting here. I'm still actively pursuing my passion, and for the past 10-15 years, my passion has been climate and sustainability. And I have been trying to work out a lot of things in this area on my own. My objective is to create awareness for climate and sustainability at the mass level, at the population level, at the lowest possible level. Now, question is how to reach them. And at present, the best way to reach all of them seems to be a mobile how to reach them through mobile is through involving them into group chats and others. And that gave me an idea of creating a group of volunteers to run chat groups. This would need maybe 5 to 7 minutes of their time on a daily basis to pick up posts and information from the website and, you know, paste them in their mobile apps, in their chat groups.
Very interesting. And I think, yeah, you're hitting there really a technology that is very important. And as you say, it's the most common communication tool among young people. Okay. And many people are much more comfortable communicating through chat than through telephone or to video or others. And it's in a way a direct communications. I see some people are sharing different chat platforms in here in the chat of the Zoom call. As we were talking about media, I think that is one really important other medium we should talk about. And thank you very much. Thank you all for your contributions. It was great to meet you, and I hope to see you soon again. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the session as well as much as I did. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Be well.
Bye.